David, when is it enough? Now the Dodgers want Tucker. Won't this impact the new CBA? Thank you for asking the question. I prefer hellos. How are you? How's your day? What's shaking? Say hi to Brett. There's all sorts of things I wouldn't mind to see in questions. Why did you ask this yesterday? It's because word came out that Kyle Tucker, who you recall was traded from the Astros to the Chicago Cubs. You may recall that Kyle Tucker has been an important part of the offensive resurgence of the aforementioned Chicago Cubs. You may recall that Kyle Tucker is the best free agent on the board next season, at the end of this season. You may recall that there is a big push for the Cubs to re-sign Kyle Tucker. What you may not recall is that when you are Kyle Tucker and his representative, you do not want one team bidding on Kyle Tucker. You want every team bidding on Kyle Tucker. But if you only choose two teams, you got to make sure one of them is the Dodgers. It is no surprise that the Dodgers are rumored to be in on Kyle Tucker. The Dodgers obviously have Shohei Ohtani's deferred contract to play with, where they're paying him $2 million now and $68 million later. The Dodgers have spent some of that money when they signed Yamamoto. The Dodgers would be helped by having Kyle Tucker. It would make their team that much better because they can use some of that to sign Blake Snell. They can use some of that to sign Tanner Scott. They can use some of that to sign Tyler Glasnow. But bringing in Kyle Tucker would be another example of the financial might that the Dodgers have and employ. But your question is, will it impact the new CBA? And what I assume you're referring to is whether or not it will embolden enough owners to demand a salary cap because the Dodgers seem to be getting all the free agents. I want to bring you inside an owners meeting where conversations like this happen. And the reason why most owners don't complain privately about what the Dodgers are doing is that their baseball people say to them, the Dodgers only have 26 roster spots. There are plenty of players out there available for us if you give me the payroll flexibility and the capability to sign free agents. As you know, you don't need to be a good GM to overpay to sign Shohei Ohtani or Kyle Tucker or Blake Snell. You need to be a good front office president of baseball operations to sign mid-level free agents or lower-level guys to minor league contracts with an invite to Major League spring training. You need to be good on the margins because that's what differentiates you from being a bad front office to a good front office. As a president of a low-revenue team, I was cognizant of the NL East and the payroll of the Phillies and the payroll of the Braves and the payroll of the Mets. And that's even before Steve Cohen got involved. But the reality is, I never went to our owner and said, why can't we be at 200? If we could only be at 200, I swear to God, we'd be better. I swear to God, we'd win more than 81 games. We'd win a second World Series. I never once said that. Because you've got to have the ability to build your team and allocate your resources across all 26 players in a way that a team gets put together to win. Kyle Tucker is obviously someone who makes your team better, but it depends on the price, whether or not that player is marked to market. Generally, top-of-the-line free agents can never be marked to market, where you give what the value is of the player and then decide whether or not that value is more or less than what your contractual obligation is to that player. There is no player who is worth $40 million, $50 million. They don't generate enough revenue, and we can talk about Ohtani separately if you like, but they don't lead to winning. Look at what happened with the Angels when they had Ohtani and Mike Trout. The reality is the Dodgers can allocate their payroll at whatever level they want. and you know that Max Muncy and Chris Taylor are not going to be on the Dodgers next year. They're going to come off the books. Michael Conforto making $17 million this year. They're not going to sign him to a long-term deal. He'll come off the books. When you are Andrew Friedman and you have an opportunity to sign a Kyle Tucker, and he's not a huge percentage of your total payroll, you're going to think about it. But if you're Kyle Tucker, you are spending your days and nights getting the Dodgers interested because it's the way to get Tom Ricketts of the Cubs to pony up even more. We'll find out what happens with Kyle Tucker, but in no way does an owner go to the commissioner and say, I'm now a no on anything but a salary cap for a new CBA, or I'm a no on a CBA unless it's got certain luxury tax levels that are lower than what they are now, or that the penalties are greater. And I'm doing all of that because of Kyle Tucker. The reason why you take a position as a team in a collective bargaining agreement negotiation, and when you're negotiating with the commissioner, the reason why you do that is because it's to the benefit of your team and how you operate your team in your market with the sort of payroll scale that you have for your team. It has nothing to do, and you're reading so much about this, but it has nothing to do with a specific player signing with a specific team. We're going to find out, though, but I'm going to be right. Do you remember when Roki Sasaki was signed by the Dodgers? I want to talk about this because the Dodgers have a problem. They've got more people on the injured list. Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki is now on the injured list. Clayton Kershaw, Gavin Stone, River Ryan, Blake Trine, Michael Kopech, Evan Phillips, Gratterall, Hurt, Grove, Edgardo Enriquez. I could go on. It's an unbelievable number of players. The reason why I'm bringing this up again is, yes, the Dodgers have depth and a high payroll. But there's something we talked about early in the season, in March, when Roki Sasaki got the start in Japan, when the Dodgers opened the season against the Cubs. Do you remember when they won 2 games? Yamamoto started game 1 and Sasaki started game 2. Remember when I told you that Sasaki has never pitched bulk innings ever? He's a kid, and by starting him up on March 19th, there is no way that he could go through October. Do you remember me telling you that they're going to have to give him a blow during the course of the season if they have any expectation of him getting help? Well, that blow came yesterday. Roki Sasaki is being shut down and put on the injured list. Roki Sasaki's fastball velocity has been an issue all season. Do you remember when he started the year in Japan? That game, go look at the tape, Coca. His first pitch of his major league career, I believe, was a triple-figure fastball. Roki Sasaki is now sitting around 92, 93. You know very well from listening to this show that when you're sitting 92, 93, and you're supposed to be sitting 97, 98, it means you're hurt. All we had to do was have one of our scouts behind the plate with the radar gun. Forget the radar gun that we use on the board for the public to see. We have our own radar guns where we're monitoring the velocity of our own pitchers. When there is a drop like that, it is not a mechanical issue. It is a I'm hurt issue. Sasaki got an MRI yesterday. He's got an impingement in his right shoulder. He had not said anything about this. He claims now that he's been dealing with it for a few weeks. One of the biggest frustrations I have with players is when they do not tell the truth about their bodies, and we've got to be the ones to try to guess what's going on because of lack of performance, because of a 4.7 ERA, because of a drop of velocity, where you say to yourself, all right, he's not getting strikeouts. He's letting in runs. His velocity's down. Dude, are you lying to us? Well, it's actually been hurting for a while. Coca used to make me insane. The Dodgers, once he said that, had no choice but to put him on the injured list. This is not going to be a minimum stay injured list. Coca, I'm having a moment right now, so help me out. Is the injured list for pitchers 10 days? Is it 15 days? I think it's the 10-day IL. I know that if you're on paternity leave, it's like 2 days, and then there's a 5-day for bereavement or something. There's all sorts of days, Coke, and I don't have it straight in my head right now because I'm focused on the reality that Roki Sasaki needs to take a longer break if the Dodgers have any thought of him pitching into the fall. You cannot forget whether I agree or disagree, which I disagree, the way that we baby pitchers from little league through high school through college. I want pitchers who can give me bulk. I need bulk. Bulk is everything. 15 days is Roki Sasaki stay on the injured list, and we are taking the over. This is not simply him being rested for 15 days with a shoulder impingement. This is him being off the big league roster for way longer than that. As a matter of fact, it would not surprise me in the least, and we could even make it a wait to see, Coke, if you want to do 2-in-1 show, that Roki Sasaki will not pitch before the middle of June. It's going to be a month off. Wait to see. We'll make it official, Coca. Roki Sasaki will be on the injured list for at least 1 month. Everybody knew this was coming, including Andrew Friedman. What you hope is that it's not true. What you hope is that the shoulder impingement is not a big deal, but every time you see shoulder and impingement, it's very, very bad. I've never really had a guy with a shoulder impingement that snaps back into shape and everything's good. Velocity back up to 98, 99, throwing strikeouts, mixing pitches, getting wins. I just haven't seen it. Maybe we'll see it. I doubt it. It's pretty amazing, actually, what's going on with the Dodgers and how it's working with their staff. Do you remember when the season first opened and they had 2 full rotations of 5 guys? And there were baseball experts, quote unquote, saying, wow, the Dodgers' second 5 rotation is better than some teams' first 5 rotation. This is amazing. Well, I would argue that what's being shown is that the pitchers the Dodgers have, and they got absolutely crushed last night by the Aths. But the Dodgers rotation is weak. Turns out the depth they hoped for and thought they had is being overcome by the number of injuries. It is hard to imagine with the payroll their size that I've only dreamt about, never even thought that it could be a reality on a team that I was a part of. But when you've got that sort of payroll and you're doing bullpen games, give me a break. But they did it to themselves.